Hi everyone, welcome to my second update video for my game that's on Kickstarter right now, The Road Chosen. In this video I'm going to talk about and show some of the new content that I've been working on over the past week, most of which was done at the weekend. So I'll start with a new map. This is going to be map number 3 for the game. And you can see here the map is in the software that I use for drawing and painting. The map is different than the other maps I've done, predominantly because it has a large river section that runs along the bottom here and has 2 key crossing points over there and just there as well. And this one, the top of the map, actually has two bridges going across the river. And there'll be some gameplay related mechanics to the river crossing, both at the bridges and at different points in the river as well. I've yet to put all the zone information and gameplay information on. That I do in another piece of software called Photoshop that I use for doing that piece of work. But this is just in the sort of the drawing and pencil stage. To give you some indication again, this is probably roughly the sort of scale in which I paint. I'm actually on my paintbrush at the minute, so you can see, for example, I roughly sort of painting in this sort of size. So if it was a real life canvas, it'd be a couple of meters large, but this is the same size as the other maps in the game and gives you some idea. There's some nip tucks that I want to do, a few bit of tidying up, and I'll probably spend a few more hours on this yet before I'll be finished with it. But it's just to give you some indication. And as you can see, there are some. The other thing I wanted to do with this map actually was to make it quite asymmetrical in the difference between the top section of the map and the bottom. So at the top there's a lot more open fields with not so much cover, but you're going to be able to move larger volumes of troops and armor through. Whereas the bottom sections there are a different type of environment, but you're going to be able to use these roads to move the armor on. So I'm still figuring out a few different things with the gameplay, but I've got some ideas of how to make the gameplay. Again, you know, the game's all about making choices, so again, that'll be reflective in the mechanics of, do I choose to send my troops more this way, or do I send them more the way, you know, or a bit of both for that matter. And depending on the scenario, you'll either be working from left to right, right to left, or some of the scenarios you may well start in the middle. So yeah, that's number 3. I've got some more work to do on that, so it's very much work in progress, but I just wanted to share that progress on that map. The next thing that I want to share is a new set of scenarios and campaign for a new force for the game, which will be the Axis Fallschirmjäger, which, if you're not familiar with that term, it's the airborne, the paratroopers for the Axis armies, predominantly Germans. And this is the cover piece for it. So they will be included in the Kickstarter. This is one of the stretch goals. You'll be able to play the Fallschirmjäger, which will, depending on the scenario you pick, will have some Axis tanks and armor and whatnot. But this is the cover for that, and there'll be a range of unique or scenarios unique to the Fallschirmjäger, and there'll be a campaign as well. So I've done the cover for that. I always like to start with the cover. It kind of gets me in the right creative mode for then thinking about the scenarios. So yeah, there's the cover for that. And then that, again, as I said, that'll be available. It's a stretch goal, so all the backers, everyone who's backed the game, will get a copy of that PDF. I've got some ideas for some of the scenarios. Interestingly, from a historical point of view, the Fallschirmjäger were, even though they were airborne, they were only used in that capacity only a handful of times. And one of the times was catastrophically didn't go very well. Which was then, they were more used as a ground troop. So it's quite an interesting history to the Fallschirmjäger if you're interested in doing some research into them. But yeah, anyway, that's the cover. And then here we have the counter art for the Fallschirmjäger infantry counter, and they are looking from right to left. So when you're playing against them, and there'll be some scenarios against them, and there'll be scenarios where you play as them in the game. Yeah, so that's the counter art that I do. And again, I always start with historical research and the art side for this type of part of the game to get me creatively into the mindset of what I would like the scenarios to be, and I use that as sort of inspiration for the scenarios. This is the artwork for this is the artwork for the counter, and this is the actual counter artwork itself. This is super zoomed in, so it's only it's a gameplay counter, so it's more like, I don't know, that sort of size or something. But and I don't actually use this software for laying the counters out, but I just thought I'd show the artwork in situ. That's the abbreviation, I believe, for the Fallschirmjäger. If anyone knows any different, please let me know, and I'll change the counter. But that's that's the current, and they are as I'm classing them as an elite troop. Their stats are a little higher than the regular infantry for the game. And then finally, I'd like to I want to show the progress on the Marder counter art. This is one of the additional counters as a stretch goal that we hit, which is awesome. As you can see, this is very work in progress. I'm actually showing you this in the software that I use for painting. I've got quite a bit to do on this, not just to finish sort of these sections over here, but it needs a lot more detailing and cleaning up, what I call cleaning up work. I would normally be, again, just to illustrate, sort of drawing and painting this sort of scale, like this. I'm going to try very hard now not to keep doing this, and I must stop and talk to you about the work rather than doing it. The other thing that's interesting about this type of vehicle is it's open topped. Doesn't have what I would call a roof, for want of a better word. There are a few vehicles like that in the game, and they will have their own sort of chrome rule as well. So if they're hit with artillery, for example, it may do a bit more deadly against these types of vehicle. In the history of the Marder, it was often a sort of a converted chassis. So the Germans would often get a chassis of a different type of tank and take the turrets off and convert them and put these anti-tank guns on, which were much more powerful anti-tank weapons than would have been on normally. I think from memory, this type of Marder, so 3M, would be a 38T, I think, from memory. But anyway, you get the idea. They're quite an interesting sort of shaped vehicle. I've drawn a few of them now. So I've got quite a bit more to do on this. It's going to take me a little bit longer to get this piece done. But just thought I'd share that. So they're the kind of main parts that I wanted to show today. And again, I'll do another update video in roughly about a week's time, when I feel like I've got enough things to show that I'm happy, even though they're work in progress to show, and I'm happily share them and show you progress. And again, just would like to take this opportunity to thank all the backers for the game. All the things I've shown tonight in this video will be available to all backers of the game. So again, thanks to everyone for their support. Thank you very much, and thank you for taking the time and watching this video. Thank you.